Yeah, well, every year I send my art teacher my end of financial year return. So, because he was one of the people that told me I'd never be an artist. So I can't wait to send him this year's.
A year for you would be like 50,000 murals, and a year for me would be like 6 or 7.
Do you want to fucking trade? I'll fucking trade with you. I was on 3 hours sleep.
Yeah.
Consistently.
I was completely delirious by
Consistently over a week, and like the photographers were like,
yeah, well, look how complex this is. This is a ridiculous artwork behind you.
For me, I always wanted to have vulnerable conversations. I always wanted to be something, because when I was younger, and this is probably where the rockstar mentality is. Thank you, therapist.
You're welcome.
You know, as a kid, I was like kind of bullied by my dad, and I was always told that you'll never do anything, like you're always just a failure. And as a kid with ADHD, I'm just like scatty, not wanting to do anything. I can understand that's coming across, but in order for you to tell someone that's pretty shitty. I talked to
You were literally
I'm
so front and center.
I'm now on a podcast.
Yeah.
All right, well let's roll it, eh? Welcome to Mustard Flats. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to our sponsor, Capital Brewing, for supporting this podcast and what we do here in the Flats. What's been going on, guys? Thank you for joining us again. It's great to see you in town. What's been happening?
I've just been blending in.
Yeah?
Sussing.
Sure. We just met on
Becoming
Rockstars
a
Street. You're like
local?
covered in paint.
Like
Definitely like as Melbourne as they come.
Yeah,
Skinny black jeans, covered in paint.
I always get questioned like, where can I buy those jeans?
Yeah,
And
I get
like-
that too. I get that
And
too.
I'm like, give me $300 and I'll
Yeah.
call you an asshole. like, maybe we should up the price of it.
Yeah, give us 5.
Yeah, maybe you'll do $3,000.
I had a really funny project on Chapel Street like years and years ago in Melbourne for this was back when I was sign writing, so I was painting for Dan Murphy's, like a Dan Murphy's conference.
Classic.
So I was in the warehouse behind Dan Murphy's. Anyway, I was in this like dark, cold space for a couple of days and then had time to kill before flying out back to Adelaide where I was living. And I walked down Chapel Street with my fancy new paycheck and I saw in a really expensive shop like Blundstone boots, patched up paint covered jeans, like my exact outfit. Like I was like looking at the mannequin in the window and then my own reflection was showing the same outfit back. And I texted my mum. It's like, Mum, we're on trend.
Oh no. Yeah, I saw
We made it.
I saw Balenciaga, however the fuck you say that brand's name. I've just shot myself in the foot.
Yeah, never getting sponsored.
Nah, whatever. Unless they pay me. Yeah,
Unless they teach
they've
me.
released like crazy amounts of paint covered clothes, and I was like, I could have done that myself. I did this one job, must have been like 6 years ago, and this lady was like, where did you get your pants from? I must have them. And I was like, General Pants, I think. And she's like, oh, like, where are they? What are they called? How much were they?
Wow.
Like, and I was like, oh,
This is with your paint editions.
yeah, they were like, 70. Literally.
$1,500
Whoa.
bucks.
I've got my fucking air guitar legs.
Wow. Who does this?
I mean, I do
like
that, to
she's
be
going
fair.
for her pocket, or wiping them off before they go in the pocket. Oh, I would wear that. That's a sick jacket.
This just looks like my gear.
Yeah, it really
all
does.
the time.
It really does. I don't wear it this heavily. Like when the pants get this caked, I'm swapping them up for some new ones.
Why is that? Because you can't sweat in them.
Too much.
It's too heavy.
Carry that weight around me. That's
Yeah.
baggage.
Yeah, I mean, also, it's nice to do as like a year-long thing, like do a year worth of pants or a year's worth of like dungarees.
I feel like that's coming back to our earlier conversation though, because a year for you would be like 50,000 murals and a year for me would be like 6 or 7.
Do you want to fucking trade? I'll fucking trade with you every day.
And mine's like polite little fingerprints and yours is like...
Literally, like I'm at the point now where even my clean clothes are getting paint on them.
Yeah,
and I'm,
mine
like,
too.
really, really trying to stop.
Do you ever buy 2 pairs? Like if I find something that I like, which is kind of rare, right? Like a unique style or whatever and body shape. So if I find a pair of jeans that I like, I'll buy one to keep clean and one to wear for my paint stuff.
I don't think you know how poor I am.
Oh, okay.
No.
Sorry.
I'm actually quite rich.
Thought you were sponsored. Sponsored by General Pants.
I should be after this podcast. For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
No, I constantly have paint covered clothes, and it's now like my brand identity.
Maybe you could sell them on to make more money.
it's not a bad idea, but I don't think anyone's going to buy my fucking my pants
You're
that
not that
smell
famous,
of
yeah.
of beer and dog hair and like
But just wait.
the food from like a year.
That's the next step of Chapel Street, though. It's like the tactile, like comes with the smell, comes with the dog hair.
Is there a Chapel Street here, or are you talking Chapel Street, Melbourne?
No, in Melbourne. That's what I was talking about in Melbourne. But the equivalent of that here probably does not exist.
All streets lead. It's sort of Lonsdale.
Yeah, it would be where we've just been.
Maybe,
but that's not close. That's not like where you go to shop necessarily.
Nah, it doesn't quite have the authentic vibe yet. Lonsdale.
Canberra really has an authentic vibe yet.
Nah, we're a sort of spread out city, so every suburb has their little favourite cafes and stuff, but nothing like Chapel or Pitt Street, really.
I don't know what the hype is about Chapel Street, honestly. Like, you'll go down
It's
there.
high end, isn't it?
Fuck no.
Oh.
No, there's
your
like
pardon.
people
The
passed
Revolver.
out. You can smell that the second you drive in. Like, it's kind of like a tyre fire. I call Chapel Street the tyre fire. Like,
Are we about the same age, Nick? I wonder if like
I'm 35.
Yeah, I'm 35 too. I just turned 35 last week. And my memories of Revolver, like when I was kind of 18 to 21 or so, and we'd start going to Melbourne to party and having those trips down there. For me, it was for design conferences and New Year's and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Revolver was definitely the hit spot.
Revolver
It was the
fucking-
alternative bar.
Yeah, we
Revolver
always went to Chapel.
Man, Revolver looks like it smells and you'd stick to the floor. I speak from experience on the fact that I've never been there. Like, I never want to go.
But you were saying that you just moved to Melbourne a few years ago.
Yeah, about 4 or 5.
Yeah,
or,
we're talking about like over a decade ago.
Yeah. From what I hear, Chapel's COVID kind of took a toll on all those night spots and stuff. But yeah.
There's just like people sleeping on the streets, and sometimes I don't even know if they're
heavy.
asleep. I think they're dead. Like, I actually think people are dead
That is
on Chapel
heavy.
Street.
That is heavy.
Yeah, it's a tyre fire. It's like, it's supposed to be this like beautiful street art destination or like precinct for culture, but it's just like cash converters and like dingy grilled restaurant. Is there a grilled there? There should be a grilled there. Like grilled.
There
to
will
me,
be after this.
grilled to me just feels like it's just belongs in the danks. Like
That is another sponsor that you're going to spoil.
Yeah, another brand deal.
Yeah.
I don't think you understand what I'm doing here. I'm
I'm
trying
to get it.
Who's my
yeah.
Capital
Just
Brewing?
Capital Brewing by the end of it.
Capital, we love.
We do love Capital. Thank you, Capital.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to actually alienate myself.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy.
This is your strategy for getting less mural
literally,
jobs. Yeah.
literally. I'm gonna
If I
cancel
need a
myself.
holiday, I'm just going to boo everybody.
Yeah.
Well, that was a bit what you were saying on social media, that you're looking for a bit of a break from that sort of thing. So is that maybe
This
part
is
of it?
part of your strategy.
Oh my god, yeah. I want to spend enough time off social media. I feel like I need to grow my brain back. I feel like
Is that possible?
no.
Do brains go like that?
No, I've had enough concussions and enough
Oh.
enough drugs and alcohol and everything above that to kill my brain. So it's not coming back anytime soon.
Sorry.
But we're gonna try. We're gonna try. Social media, I'm gonna try and stay off it like for about 30 days. But that's already broken. I've already posted something today saying like I'm leaving, and my wife was like, "I thought you'd left already." I was like, "I need to tell people that I'm leaving so people care about me."
Sounds like an addiction.
It's an addiction.
Yeah, that sounds like an addiction.
So we'll see. Like, I'll probably be back on tomorrow, to be fair.
Are you worried that your social media following will be like, poorly impacted, negatively impacted by taking time off?
I hope it is.
What do you mean?
I want to leave.
Don't tell them that.
Nah, maybe. I don't know.
Because you've got you've got almost 30,000 followers.
Yeah, I think so.
Are they vocal? Are they like very present it sounds like there's a lot of conversation happening for you on Instagram.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that kind of chat, like just vent to me and like that. I've got like a nice open door feel going. So yeah, a lot of it's just kind of like vulnerable conversations and
I feel like I've done that with you.
oh yeah,
Because
that's
when
why
you
I'm
post
here.
when you post something, but I remember a magazine article that was about
Off of grass fires, yeah.
Out of grass fires. That was very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And you're you started opening up a bit more. Maybe I just tuned in late, but you started opening up about the themes behind some of the artworks and saying like, I'm going to be doing this more. And I mean, me being me, it was like, fuck yes, like definitely have time for this.
Yeah, it's a big thing in like, I guess in street art or in art in general, especially I've experienced in Melbourne. It's just like, it's boys club, and it's just this whole thing of if you're not built for it, then they have no time for you.
Oof. How would you? This is a hard question to answer, but how would you describe built for it? What does that look like?
The best way to describe it, and it's probably on par with you, is like projection of toxic masculinity and like gatekeeping. And I was kind of touching on before over what I thought was going to be ramen. I need to set the record straight.
We went for ramen. There was no ramen.
I am very let down.
That's my fault.
But I'm taking my noodles home.
Yeah, I was nervous even suggesting ramen because you come from Melbourne anyway.
I love ramen.
I kind of wanted to say, I was like, it's not going to pair up, dude. Sorry.
We should have had grilled.
That was next door. But anyway, no, that was a good conversation that I wanted to keep on having.
Yeah. What about
Which was about...
the toxic masculinity.
Yeah, well, it was about the built for it mentality of the boys club.
Yeah, it's I think I used the word cutthroat before, and it's kind of, Melbourne is perceived as like Hollywood for artists, right? And in very many ways it is, because there's so much work going around, and it's just this scene where, you know, the more people do, the more like everyone else is uplifted, kind of like high tides raise all ships type of thing. And so it very much is that, but it's equally like manipulated by people who shouldn't be in the scene and shouldn't really have a place in the scene. I like to refer to them as leeches. But so they establish like glass ceilings, and they're very elitist in the way that they go, oh, you know, this guy's flavor of the month, this person's flavor of the month. I'm going to work with this person exclusively, and nobody else can come through. And
they hold a lot of power.
I think it's perceived power. I don't think it really is power.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's really not, because...
Are they agents? Do they actually have access to clients or funding?
Probably, yeah. I feel like anyone with social media can have access to a client, you know? Like, it's really... Like I said, it's all perceived, you know? Like, I've had this particular gatekeeper, like, chase me for 9 months, just, like, stalking me and, like, uploading weird shit on social media. I'm just like... oh, I think that's about me. And then I'm just like, all right, cool. Well, thanks for the props. So, yeah.
Do you think all publicity is good publicity?
Sometimes. I think like if your intentions are true, then yeah, sure. If you're a prick and you make the news, then I'm pretty sure that's just everyone's going to know you as a prick. But I feel like my intentions are fine. Like I feel safe in my actions. I feel safe in my ethos and the company I keep. So yeah, I've got nothing to lose in that regard. But it's just funny watching the scene in general, and it's across the world as well. It's not just Melbourne. It's funny just watching it kind of wean out the leeches, and it's really beautiful to watch because I guess in a way that they're kind of poisoning their own water, and like, and that's kind of how I've internally been describing it for like 9 months.
Very, very specific time.
9 months, 14 days. But isn't that wonderful that 9 months is the term of pregnancy? I feel like now I've just been blossomed into this like
do you think that
unbreakable
it has
baby?
Yeah, that it has actually created something in you that feels like a level up or a chapter?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, to have gatekeepers actively blackball you, that's doing wonderful things for my career. Like, I'm set.
I actually experienced the same. It did wonderful things for mine too.
Yeah, no doubt.
But it was one of the scariest and like horrible things that I've been through.
Yeah.
Like I was really triggered.
Yeah.
And it wasn't
if you're not built for this. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, but that is kind of saying something, because what you're describing doesn't sound nice to me, like an environment that I really want to be in. And yet this is, like you say, like the Hollywood of the Australian street art scene. And and certainly like a part of me wants to be embraced into the bosom of contemporary art.
Yeah.
Of course. But yeah, I think coming from my background of like emotional abuse and toxic masculinity and all the stuff that is leading to a lot of the media conversations and the art that I'm making now, I'm not interested in like exposing myself to those people. Like,
Yeah, and I don't think anyone really should be.
No, I guess as soon as I said that, I was like, who would do that? I don't know.
I expose myself all the time.
But the more that you do, the more resilience you build up, right? I guess I wanted to say that experience for me, that like you described blackballing, which is a term I hadn't heard before, kind of like blacklisting, I suppose, like someone
same thing.
Actively wants you out.
Yeah.
That felt like way too familiar for me. It wasn't the first time that I experienced that, and it was the first time I experienced that in my like corporate kind of career life. But personally, I'd experienced that a lot throughout my life, and it definitely took me back to like another state totally separate from my current like adult life that I didn't appreciate.
But I think that's wonderful that you don't appreciate that. But equally, I think it's amazing that you can recognize you don't appreciate that, right? And I think that's the drive that I have in me, and I think that's the drive that everyone should have in themselves. Because if you think about it, like, why would I want to be a part of something I hate, right? Why would anybody want to do that? It doesn't make sense. So my agency in the street art scene, or my mission, for a lack of a better word, is to fuck off all these people. And, you know, if I get blackballed along the way, that's fine, because I know I'm doing something that's meaningful.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
At the end of the day, like, I'm an artist. This is all
that's almost the goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, to be that interesting and that on the pulse.
Yeah.
That it pisses people off, because you're in a sense like, I think Smalls really helped me understand this as well. Like, it was really the right.
He's so muscly, that guy.
Yeah, he's built for it. Yeah, no, that the emotional response was like, I guess, a testament to how valuable the work was.
Yeah, and it's conversation, right? So, like, I think art at its purest form is all conversational. However, sometimes the conversation can lead in like shit talking about that artist, but nonetheless, it's like, it's all conversational. If your art isn't producing conversation, or at least producing interest, then I feel that it's wasted time. Because if you can't have an internal dialogue going while you're producing something that you're supposed to be expressing yourself about, or you're dedicating your time and practice to something, then I think you're wasting your time. But equally, a lot of commercial artists fall into that thing, and that's fine.
Well, that's a hard lifestyle to achieve, in my experience, because when I create art that has deep meaning for me, it actually takes like quite an emotional energy as well.
It's supposed to, I think.
It should, as it should. Or physical energy, because I've done a shit ton of research into that community group, and now I'm creating art in response to them, or I'm helping them heal, or whatever that might be. So to continue, like, to do that full time and to continue that level of output it's almost like being a therapist or something. Like, it does require so much emotional energy.
Yeah, and that's kind of why, like, when you go to therapy, like, you have this release and you talk about something in particular, and then once you've got it off your chest, you feel like you have the ability to like stretch your shoulders out, crack your back. You feel like literally like a thing of like a weight off your shoulders.
Yeah.
So like I personally feel like that with a lot of my art that I produce. I feel that whilst people can't necessarily understand the stories that I'm telling, or they can't really decipher the messages or the Easter eggs, I truthfully love that.
Yeah, right.
Because it's not meant for everyone.
Yeah.
Art is a reflection of me. My art is anyway. Sure, like, my commission work leans sometimes to that client, but equally it's still a reflection of me and how I feel about that particular brief or conversation. So I can create my own dialogue around a lot of a lot of those topics as well. Like, for example, I did a project where was I last week? Holy shit.
I was
literally thinking last week, but the project I'm thinking about was like months ago.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God, I've just stepped into a
Yeah, you
time
need
warp.
sleep, yeah.
I need sleep. I did this project for a housing commission thing, right? And the idea of the brief, like the idea was that we want to kind of bring joy into the people's lives who live there. And I want to make sure equally that the residents were being looked after and all that jazz. And they were, so I jumped on the project. But everyone was kind of painting like beautiful flowers and sunsets and like trying to spark like feelings. I'm like, what are you saying? Like you're painting like flowers that I guarantee you couldn't even know the name of. Couldn't name, sorry. Or you're painting animals that aren't local to that area, or everything in particular. And nothing really felt like a true expression of them. So I jumped in and go, I'm having a personal piece because it's a personal thing for me. I want to make sure that I have the ability to change someone's perspective on art, or I can like uplift someone's life, or whatever the conversation was. But the piece that I painted was a picture of my wife Britt and one of my best friends Sean, and Sean's holding an umbrella, and there's got like, the original one was have like flying fish in it. I don't know why they pulled it back, but I put some lorikeets in it. But the idea is that it's like changes, and so I did Britt blowing some flowers and the petals were flying across the scene and stuff like that. So I wanted to make sure that people were resonating with the painting in the way that they can go, oh, I relate with that. Like that's something that I can see myself doing, and I don't really relate with that series of flowers over there. And
do you think that the people that painted the flowers had the opportunity to do something from their hearts, or did they get asked to paint flowers?
Probably a bit of both. Look, sometimes flowers can mean a lot to people. Sure,
That's true.
But I think it's just the expectation that like every street artist or every artist is supposed to paint flowers. And
it's popular. I sometimes am guilty of not giving myself enough time to come up with meaningful artwork.
Didn't you say you do like 1 project a month, 2 projects a month? That seems like a lot of time.
I'm a slow worker.
It seems like you got a lot of time.
Yeah, you're right. No, that's a recent rule. That's just come in since I got back from Tassie about 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to pare it back because I was finding myself relying on tried and true techniques and just jumping to quick design solutions instead of taking the time. And I mean, not just like giving myself an extra hour, I mean doing all of the work around creating space in my body to fuel creativity.
Is this commission-based briefs, or is this like your own personal work?
Both.
Yeah.
But to be blissfully creative, like to be in a state where I have creative ideas coming at me, you know, like in the middle of the night, and you're writing them down, and then every day you have different ideas, like where I've been through phases of that in my life where my brain is really creative, but over the last 6 months it hasn't been that. And it's not to say that I wasn't coming up with like great ideas for those murals. It was that they were very like I probably shouldn't say this on record, but I was leaning to superficial design solutions.
Yeah. I think that's a very happy way of saying what you
Well, on my website, I distinctly say I do not do superficial design solutions. I think for me, they were probably way deeper than like a lot of other people. But even by my standards, it would be nice to have. It would be nice to have more space to put my own, like you just described, like a completely new idea that comes so much from me.
Yeah, I think project. It's. I think we were. This is actually something we wanted to touch on while we're eating fake ramen. Was that. Yeah, like design integrity or artist integrity.
Yeah, and also design versus art.
Yeah. See, like I like to think of JESWRI as a brand, right? So like JESWRI is different to me, Jesse Wright, that I have no intention of putting myself, or I try to have no intention of putting myself as the face of JESWRI, but obviously naturally things happen, and I talk to
you were literally
I'm
so front and center.
I'm now on a podcast.
Yeah.
So now like the two are kind of bled together.
Yeah.
And I think that also helps it, but also it helps me understand how I can mold my expectations or stay true to what I believe is my integral self. Is that the right way of saying it? No, probably not. That doesn't matter.
No, that makes sense. But I want to pause there and ask, because I'm very similar. My brand is Bowie. And when I come from a graphic design background, so
Yeah, me too.
right? So we brand, like
Yeah.
we are branders.
Yeah.
And we get to the mission statements and we get to the values and we get to know the company so that we can brand them.
Yeah.
And when you're branding JESWRI, as opposed, am I pronouncing that right?
Mm.
As opposed to Jess, like,
Yeah.
has it been a challenge to come up with brand values for your personal self? Like, it's a strange world that we live in. And yet millions, billions of people are doing it all around the world because of Instagram and because we've all made brands of ourselves in so many ways.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also what happens when I work at my pace. You know, I really have no option to really bend towards what I assume the client wants. I have not to say I don't have patience, but I really don't have the capacity to lean any other way. Like, I'm kind of just putting my head forward. If people are coming to me, they're coming to me for what I've done. I don't think they're coming to me for what I can do.
Oh, that's interesting.
You know, like, they're going to look at my folio and go, oh, well, Jess has done this, Jess has done that.
Yeah.
I want something similar. And they'll start a conversation. But the way that I join that conversation is literally go like, show me the work you like of mine and I'll maybe meet you in the middle, but I'm probably going to lean my new direction anyway. Even for...
Has it always been that way for you?
No, not really. Like, I was showing someone my first mural the other day and it was like, well, not my first mural actually. My first mural was for like Nokia and I shit the bed. That's another story. But the mural I was showing for, I think it was like 2014. It was like some recruitment agency that I did that my cousin worked at. She got me the job for like really low pay, but at the time I was like, this is sick.
Yeah.
So I painted like, I didn't know what they wanted and I just chose not to ask the questions. And what I decided they needed to be was like this happy valley with kids flying kites and a seal on a surfboard with a big wave. And I was like, this is what they want. And I did it in like graph style as well. And like, they were stoked with it. But also I look back retrospectively and I'm like, I wish that I asked the questions that I knew I could ask to lead in what I wanted to do. But equally at that time, I was like, I need to showcase what I can do. So like, I was coming from graph, and so people only knew me as like this graph lord, like crime boss or whatever.
I'm sorry. People only knew you as a graph lord.
Yeah, I'm a graph lord, 100%.
Rockstar.
I surf trains. I like juggle cans. I'm all the above.
Right.
No, like they only know me as this this like dude who did graffiti, and like I wanted to extend what I did, extend what I could do, and so part of what I thought I could do was like cute kids painting, whatever. I thought that was commission work, and now I know better. But I think for any like artist that's just starting out, they're going to try to meet them.
I'm not sure if now you know better is the right way to put it, because now you've created space for your style.
Yeah.
It's not to say that it necessarily existed before, and if you weren't pushing that edge all the time to make space for yourself, you might still be painting kids with kites.
What was that?
You might still be painting kids with kites. Like,
oh yeah,
like
true.
You've earned
you've
both
pushed
of you
that
have earned
space.
it, to do what you want rather than the commission work, maybe.
Thank you for that compliment.
Yeah, I think so.
I still struggle with it.
I'm still surprised that artists like you are getting asked to do things to a brief.
Yeah. I'm
Like,
actually
I
still
guess
surprised by that too.
Someone from the outside would be like, why would you want that
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
not just you, but people like your caliber doing the work that you guys do? Why would people even ask that? There are limits, obviously, sometimes, but it still surprises me.
I'm only just like probably in the last week realizing that I want to say a hard no to everything. Like every email that says, hey, can you paint this? I'm just going to start saying a hard no. But
That's so sick.
But it's a shock, I think, to myself, even that I'm still getting asked so much. And particularly in Canberra, it's like, we want public servants on scooters. We want sweeping magpies. Like there are very specific imagery that we get asked to do quite a bit, I think.
Because
Canberra is very much like that.
Yeah, and
which maybe Melbourne's a bit different.
I think Melbourne
It's grown-
gets to
it's grown
see
up a
what's
bit more,
possible a bit
Yeah.
more than we do.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing for me wasn't I want to make my own art. It was I want to co-create Like, I want to be a part of the conversation that is, what do we actually want this to be, and who are we designing for, and who's walking past this, and why do you want this, and who do you think it's going to relate to, and can I challenge that?
Yeah.
Is there actually room for me to put my 2 cents in? Because I don't think this idea is actually going to connect with people in the way that you think it is. And let me help you by educating you.
I mean, there's a lot of those conversations going on in Melbourne too.
Yeah.
Sometimes the direction that the brief is coming from, not direction, but I can't be bothered thinking of a different word from it. The place that it's coming from is just, you know, the generic old white person.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, what does Pinterest say is cool street art? Oh, it's either graffiti.
Like flowers and sunsets,
like,
yeah.
Can you paint me a Melbourne laneway? Like, fuck off. Or it's like, can you paint pretty flowers? And sometimes when artist integrity is brought into question, a lot of the time they won't back the artist. They just want what they want. A good example of that is like one of my mates, David Lee Pereira, beautiful person, got asked to paint by the council. They briefed him on painting flowers representing sexual diversity and gender diversity and a lot of other terms that only a perceived white passing male can list. I'm sure
they were labels.
No, that me, I can only list so many because of the top of my head.
Were the flowers obviously, were
gender
they
fluidity,
like,
that's the term I was looking for.
Figs and orchids and stuff?
Yeah.
Were they obviously sexually related?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Gender fluidity, that's the topic, that's the term I was looking for. And he painted it and it really received so much backlash from the community.
What?
And it just blew up and the council was like, no, we don't back him anymore. And
what?
so
It was the council that asked him to do it?
yeah, they asked him exclusively to paint like gender fluidity.
What was the feedback? Why were the community unhappy?
Look, to be fair, like 90% of the feedback was like, this is amazing, this is beautiful, we love the conversations.
There's just those
it was
few
the 10%
voices,
of like fucking Aryan brotherhoods or whatever that was just like, I don't like this and I'm like old and
It
white.
sucks that we let that voice get through though and bend, because this is like the 90% and the council are trying to create really positive change.
It only takes a turd to ruin a breakfast, you know, like let's be real.
So graphic.
But, you know, like
yes, that would ruin my breakfast. You're right. It's a bummer though.
Yeah, you just throw the whole plate out at that point.
Yeah, you do. Definitely.
So I think there's a lot of people
You're
like
cleansing
that.
the kitchen.
Yeah, you're moving out, contacting the real estate and moving out ASAP.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, obviously the analogy would be really questioning whether the council would be like a good client moving forward.
No, they're not.
The trust is broken.
The trust is broken completely. Yeah. So like me as an artist, that I like to say I have integrity and like to say that I stand up for all of my friends and all minorities, and like I'm fairly clued on to, and if I'm not, like I'm the first person to put my head up and say I don't know, can someone teach me? So I like to think that I'm that type of person, and I don't want to borrow that shit. Like I don't want anything to do with that council ever. If they contacted me, and I'll probably no. No, like I think that like we're coming into a new wave with with small businesses and with art and with artists and with galleries, and this new wave is that like we don't want to take shit, and we're building our own integrity. I think lockdown really helped with that, to be honest. But like,
oh, that's interesting. Was it like an incubation period?
Yeah, I'm fucking overcooked.
Past 9 months.
Oh my word. Melbourne had it longer, thank you.
Yeah, that was way too much.
Yeah, I'm deep.
I've got friends with PTSD, like actual.
Yeah.
They were this one couple particularly were living in Melbourne as like primary school counselors. So they were working with kids going through trauma in schools that had a lot of like trauma in kind of written into that neighborhood. And it sounds like, that was a lot. That was way too much to ask of the citizens.
Yeah. No, I went into lockdown already with a handful of mental health issues. Lockdown definitely didn't help any of that, really.
Yeah.
My beard keeps getting stuck to the microphone.
It's static.
It's like fucking a balloon with arm hair. Just like, watch me just like leave and then have, like,
a little braid.
You're like, hey, there's a cat on the desk.
Sounds even better now.
Oh my god, insulation. yeah, I went in with like a whole bag of mental health issues, and I definitely don't think it helped either. But it also made me realize like what type of work I want to take on, and what type of people I want to be around.
It gave you perspective.
Fuck, my friend group hit like iPod shuffle at that point. Like I've got entirely new friend groups. I'm doing entirely new work. Like my work, I feel like aged 10 years in the space of those 2.
Yeah.
I'm doing shit that I probably wouldn't have even liked back then.
Is that like a mental change shift or technical? You had enough time to like practice new techniques or something?
Yeah, both actually. Like I think the incubation thing is a good term for it for sure, because I was just sitting in my room, like in my lounge room, just like wondering where my work gone. I lost like 30 grand worth of work in the first day. I was like, heavy. I'm fucked. So then I took all my work to Twitch, and I was like, I'm just going to figure out how to draw online and get paid for it. And so I just kind of reflected on the fact like, I don't really like drawing like this anymore. I'm going to go lock myself in the studio and see how I feel after that. And so I spent maybe like 3 weeks like illegally going to the studio and like locking myself in there, putting on music where I knew no one would hear it. It was just like crying and painting and like getting real emotional.
All the feels.
Yeah, I've never heard more George Michael in my life. Like,
can you listen to him again, or is that done now? Okay.
Oh yeah, I listen to Father Figure all the time now. I bring up my daddy issues and shit. But like I did a body of work in lockdown. I just like produced this style that I was like, I'm going to set myself a brief, because as a designer, I think that's how we meet.
Yeah.
We meet projects is with our own brief, or if they have a brief, we send back something. So I made myself a brief of not using any outlines, just to see what would happen, because my artwork at the time was entirely outlines. And then the work that came from it was really, really, really therapeutic, and I came out of it just going, I'm going to take this work into my practice, and I combined the two of them. And then it was just like...
I feel like outlines are such a lovely, like, symbolic vessel.
Yeah.
Like, they're enclosed and, you know, clean and sharp and perfection.
Refined,
and, totally refined. And to let them go is so daunting.
Yeah.
Like, so, super daunting.
Yeah.
But also to come out the other side flourishing is, like, an expansion of self as well.
Yeah. Well, I was just... At the time, I was like, what do I do? Because, like, all I do is outlines. Like, how can I put paint on the canvas and, like, actually express myself? Because what I was doing at the time like wasn't really letting me express myself. Like the refined lines, I wasn't refined. It was like the clean, I wasn't clean. It was like consistent.
Were you trying to be those things but failing? Is that how you felt?
It wasn't feeling like art, it was feeling like a chore. And so like a lot of my work is portraiture and like pop culture, and so I was trying to do that stuff, and I was like, I no longer want to zoom into this. Like I work on my iPad. I like no longer want to zoom in and like refine this eyelid. Like I don't care. I don't get the same fulfillment out of it. So I just removed it all, and I was like, I'm just going to go in, set up like maybe 20 canvases on the bottom level, and just like threw paint all over them and just got nuts. And
oh my God, I'm so ready for this.
Yeah, I just had like it like even if
I'm so ready for
even
that.
if I went back to my work, I just knew that I had that period where I was like, I released it.
Yeah.
And so now I just like I go to art therapy every Saturday.
Oh, tell me about that. That's so interesting.
So sick.
I come from an art therapy background. I come from a therapy, like the last 5 years I've been heavy therapy, and I had this fantastic therapist in Adelaide where I lived for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Up in the Adelaide Hills, who used art therapy techniques. And she also ran like a play school for preschoolers. So I'd always end up like sitting on the floor with crayons talking about my daddy issues.
Yeah.
Oh, it was awesome. I actually unlocked this like incredible world within myself. Like it has translated to my work and my art so much.
I think it should. I really think like everyone should be positioning like expression in their art and messages and look.
But you have to tune in to do that, which I'm a big fan of and do a lot myself.
Or you let go and then you post rationalize it later and go like, oh, I would think I was listening. I was listening to like a lot of Snoop Dogg then. Like, how was I feeling?
Yeah.
So, look, I dissect everything I do after I've done it anyway. Like, I'm the type of person to go back and watch like 24 hours worth of Instagram stories, and like towards the end of my run, I was just like, 1,000 videos a day, just like reposting like dumb memes and like dumb videos from like brown cardigan and stuff. I'm like, yes. So I went back all the time and just like spent my time rewatching them. And so that's also why I've left social media for a little bit.
Yeah, that sounds like you're spending a lot of time on your phone.
It's fucking exhausting. I'm running up 16-hour days on screen times.
We're living really different lives.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like, I think I'm moving at such a slow pace, and I'm really enjoying that. Like, I moved back to this property in Braidwood where I grew up, and it's off the grid. It's really like shitty kind of service, and it's taking me longer to come up with ideas, but I'm also just moving at a way slower pace. And I was really pursuing like slow living. Like, I want to learn how to preserve my garden. And
how do you find you generate your ideas or your creativity?
well, that's something that I'm struggling with, because a huge inspiration throughout my life has been the city and the hybrid crazy mix of people bumping up against each other and all of their baggage bumping up against each other and all of my baggage bumping up against them. So to be on my own is a beautiful, safe space that I've never experienced before, coming from like endless share houses and share studios and, toxic areas. But I'm kind of hitting a bit of a brick wall. For the last 2 years, I've been using nature as an analogy for my mental health or like vulnerability or whatever that might be. And that's fine. That's going strong-ish. I can keep on doing that. But I need content to put into that analogy. I actually only realized like probably a week ago that I'm not actually inspired by nature. I use nature as the visual language, but the words that I'm speaking are not nature. The words that I'm speaking are human.
I wonder what your art therapist would say about that.
I think she'd be like, fucking took you long enough, Bowie.
Yeah.
Because obviously everything that I'm feeling and articulating are human relations. Like, that's obvious to her and that's obvious to me. But I'm using baby animals or a little toddler with a baby animal or whatever that might be to communicate like a really complex human issue. All of the animals and all of the natural elements are just metaphors for different parts of me and different parts of a human.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what do you feel at the moment? Like, I know you're going through creative block at the moment, but what do you feel like is the most easiest thing to tap into for your meaning and messages and stuff?
I think in the past, well, I know for a really long time, anxiety, conflict, probably leaning on drug or alcohol or whatever that might be, fueled my creative process. And then probably 2016, 2017, I really cut that. And through that therapist, had to learn how to be fueled by health instead of unhealth. But still, it was relationships ending or starting, or there was always conflict. And the last 8 months, I've really stepped back from conflicts. I've set massive boundaries between toxic people. Like, I've really tried to speak up and hold a safe space really broadly around myself, not just a tiny one, but a big one. And so now it's more like researching conflict or researching behavioral patterns or trying to find other communities and speaking like with or around them, as opposed to, I don't know, it's more likely that I'll just tap into deeper issues.
You need to.
Yeah.
See, like for me, I always look at I tend, and you're probably the same as well, I tend to look at art as like big picture, like career wise, like how is this particular moment in time going to be looked at 30 years from now when I'm a fucking rock star. So like I always think about that type of stuff and like how does this reflect my current situation? And so
that's a really different big picture to where I thought that you were going.
Yeah, no, I always like have it as reflections and I have it as documents. So like my practice, whether it's gallery or street art, is always about where I am in that moment. If I paint things that are documented around like nostalgia, it means that I'm generally reflecting on things, or like my PTSD has been triggered, or childhood trauma has been lifted in some way. So I always use it as like a really good documenting piece. And so at the moment, a lot of my stuff that I'm doing is I'm painting my friends, because I feel like I've got a really good.
Oh, that's interesting.
I've got a really good network and I've got a really good I got social circles. I'm not gonna say circle. I've got nice social circles with like really lovely people, and the kind of, I guess the conversations that are going on with all of my friends at the moment are either vulnerable or they're uplifting or they're supportive or they are just generally encouraging all the way around. And that's kind of the where I would like to keep going. And so
that's an outside of self thing. It's still like it's through you, but you're highlighting them as opposed to your own stuff.
Yeah, well, I use them as props to talk about how I'm feeling at that moment. So I love painting my friend Shan because she's like very kind of, I don't know, she's like very visibly off with the fairies sometimes. She knows it, but like I like to use hers because she's very animated. That's what I meant to say, not off the fairies. She's very animated, and so I love that this meant off with the fairies because that's ADHD brain. And so she's very like animated, and so she's also very close to me, and I can go, Shan, can you just hold this umbrella? I need to like reflect that I've got a black cloud above my head and I'm really like shitty at the moment.
Yeah.
Hey Britt, can you like go like this with your hand so I can pretend that you're blowing flowers or something like that, so I can talk about change or something. But no matter if I have the message there, I always look back at it like a year from now going like, oh yeah, so that piece that I painted back then, I was very hungry to do work, and like I was watching this and I was listening to this, and this movie was popular at the time, and I was really reflective on that. So I always look at it as like a journal. So like I portfolio all my shit. And yeah, I like to think that some people do the same. Obviously everyone's got their own practice and everyone's got their own type of thing, but it's also interesting to see like where people take their art and how they document it and what type of things they talk about. It's funny, like this, I don't want to not drop names, I'm not going to, but there was like sometimes councils give out like really direct briefs to the wrong people. So like I watched one go out the other day about like gender equity go to like a straight white cis dude. I'm like, you've missed the fucking point. And so yeah, and I think it's a lot of I think a lot of things are missed in commission work, and I think a lot of time needs to be spent, particularly for myself at the moment, with like personal reflection and like my own personal practice and like turning down a lot of commission work because a lot of my commission work and a lot of my feelings are getting wrapped up with a brand. So it's like, oh, I feel this way, but Converse has got their name on it.
Yeah.
So
That's not really the right place for it though.
Yeah.
I can relate to so much of what you're saying, and can see my own art, my personal art, as journal entries as well, like 100%.
Yeah.
They have been sad journal entries. I haven't made, but I'm not super sad at the moment.
Yeah,
so
but
I
they're
think
still
I
journal
need to
entries.
they definitely are. But thinking about what the next chapter is going to be, like, I either need to sort of sit a bit longer with the conflict within myself, like whatever that unobvious element is of like even just not having conflict. You know what I mean? Like that is actually causing conflict because I don't have the art to draw from. I don't have the themes to draw from literally.
Yeah.
So I need to dig a bit deeper with that because I'm deeply missing expressing myself through that. And I've got things, I think I said earlier, like I've got things that I want to talk about, but it feels too vulnerable. Like it's just too real to sit with.
Yeah, I think there's an art form in itself by like disguising that and wrapping in different packages and stuff. One of my good friends and like amazing artist, Jason Parker, was telling me about how he like tackles a brief now, how he like answers his own ideas and stuff like that. And so he just writes down a question. He like writes down Q&As for himself, and he just like talks to himself like in written form, and just writes like an initial rationale for what he's trying to do, and that will help shape the work to proceed. But also like you can also look at things as well, like how do I normally get inspiration and maybe move away from how you normally get it.
Yeah.
So like the way that I normally get it is like deep dives on YouTube and like thousands of hours scrolling on Pinterest and screenshotting shit until I look back at it later going, oh yeah, I can use that one. Oh yeah, that one's cool. Oh yeah, cool. So like now at the moment, I'm like really diving into music and relating with music and reflecting on certain musics, reflecting on music as well, and like seeing how that makes me feel, and then see if I can document that in my work as well.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that.
I mean, it doesn't really help that a lot of the shit that I listen to is like gangster rap. So yeah,
Does it not help or does it help?
I think it helps.
I'm going to challenge that.
It helps. Yeah.
That's where the rockstar mentality is coming from.
Yeah, damn right. If I'm not,
It sounds like you've had that for a while though.
Oh, I've always been a big deal. You know?
I'm a timid little being inside.
Nah.
I was thinking like my the question and answer that you were just describing your friend does.
Jason,
my equivalent of that is like stream of consciousness journaling.
Oh.
And when I'm in a creative mood, which actually happened a couple of nights ago for the first time in a while, the storytelling gets really imagery heavy, and that becomes like the symbols in the paintings that I like was really excited to discover again.
Yeah, but then you take in other things around it as well, like, oh, I'm watching this on the TV while I'm doing this. Oh, my dog's like licking his ass. I'm gonna put that in there too. Like you just, you know what I mean? Like, what flowers did I pass today? Like you can take photos as you go throughout the day.
That is totally what happens in my paintings.
Yeah.
But yeah, in this one I was talking in my journal about different moments on like really extensive years of travel where I felt like a real sense of freedom. And one in particular was walking the streets of Edinburgh, like way in the middle of the night, like 2, 3 a.m. when I was like 19. It was super dangerous, but I'd been out kind of clubbing and didn't want to be there and was just walking the back streets, and it was super foggy and it was really gorgeous, like cobblestone, moody, very cinematic. And in my journal, I sort of started like storytelling around that space and people moving into my world and then coming out and me sort of having autonomy over that space. And then the story flipped really quickly to another time in London where I was sitting around the table at a Luxor house with a bunch of BMX boys, which was my scene back in the day.
Amazing.
And they're all telling stories that I was considering to be called reckless abandon, stories of reckless abandon. And this felt like a real boy thing, to be able to do silly things, like dangerous things, like destructive things even, and to laugh about it later. Because girls don't have that so much. I'm sure some female groups do, but I remember kind of laughing along ha 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 and being like, oh yeah, that's funny, but really yearning for that sort of like reckless abandon myself.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, in this like stream of consciousness kind of storytelling, I was really considering like what had happened to my reckless abandon and how maybe it had been bottled up like generations ago because it wasn't safe to have it as a woman.
Well, we always crave the things we don't want. Like I want curly hair, so.
What?
I want a dad, so.
We all want dad's jazz.
Oh my God. Where were you?
So heavy.
So was years of alcoholism, but whatever. Triggered. I triggered myself, whatever. No, I know what you mean. I think we all kind of want something we don't have, right?
Yeah, of course.
And so like for me, I always wanted to have vulnerable conversations. I always wanted to look after myself, and I always wanted to have friends, and I always wanted to be something. Because when I was younger, I think it's probably where the rockstar mentality is. Thank you, therapist.
You're welcome.
You know, as a kid, I was like kind of bullied by my dad, and I was like kind of always told by everyone I ever met, whether it was teachers or like anyone, not everyone, but like friends of my mum's, and like I was always told that you'll never do anything, like you're always just a failure. And as a kid with ADHD, I'm just like scatty, not wanting to do anything. I can understand that's coming across, but in order like for you to tell someone that's pretty shitty. So I was always told that stuff, and I was always like on the outskirts of like friendship groups. So I grew up or not having a lot of friends, but like I would never have consistent friends. And like primary and high school and stuff, I was always trying to have friends, and I was always trying to like empower myself and like just feel like wanted as well. And so that's also why I'm like, I've got to be big, or like I've got to be a rock star.
To prove them wrong?
Kind of, yeah. Well, every year I send my art teacher my end of financial year return. So, because he was one of the people that told me I'd never be an artist. So I can't wait to send him this year's.
Did you have someone that believed in you?
No, my mum.
Okay.
Yeah, my mum and my nan were the only ones that believed in me.
And what about later? Like, have you had mentors throughout your career?
No, never.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think, like, obviously my friends support me and stuff,
Yeah.
and like people on socials and stuff, but that only goes so far. But like, obviously my biggest supporters, my mum and Britt, my wife, and my puppies.
Bless.
But yeah, I think like it obviously, the drive comes from the fact that I've always just never really been given anything. And I've always just like, I've got this fear of loss that if I stop, then it's just always going to stop.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So
there's your workaholic tendency.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Like
I think that's a common freelance mentality though, isn't it? You can't say no, because as soon as you start saying no, the reputation goes out that you say no, and then no one will keep asking.
In a way, I found that sometimes it's actually the opposite when you start saying no.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I've really been seeing that.
Yeah.
Saying no means that the ones I say yes to are really aligned. It's very empowering.
It was also this new wave that I'm on. It's probably similar for you as well, is that the jobs that I say yes to need to define my brand, and they need to get me the next job.
Yeah.
So I've actually started turning down a lot of residentials because I don't feel like they're going to like benefit my portfolio, or I don't. And that sounds obviously entitled and whatever, but I need to think about what makes me happy and what drives me. And yeah, unfortunately, like boring corporate client commissions aren't really the thing that drives me. It's the creative freedom and the upscaling and stuff. So like the project I just did at Vivid in Sydney,
which was awesome. That was the ADHD themed one.
Yeah. I
describe it to us. You created sort of like a monster.
Yeah, I was fucked. So Dell was really lovely, and
Dell the brand.
Yeah, they didn't actually. Oh shit! There's me dancing.
Yeah, this is a great video. Looking rockstar.
My mum actually came down, so that's why I wrote. My mum's never been to one of my jobs before, so.
Did they ask you to dance, or were you dancing?
Look, honestly,
now in ADHD, that's right.
I was on 3 hours sleep.
Yeah.
Consistently.
I was completely delirious.
Consistently over a week, and like the photographers were like,
yeah, look how complex this is. This is a ridiculous artwork behind you.
Literally.
How long did that take you?
That took me 4 full days.
4 days.
4 full
Not
days.
weeks.
Yeah,
That's
me and the amazing Sean Liu.
Wow.
helped me out.
All these lines?
Everything, including the base coat.
What
and
about the
floor.
structure though? There's like boxes and stuff happening.
We don't want to talk about the structure. No, no.
Insane.
So the idea behind the structure was that it's supposed to make you like you're supposed to walk into this room and instantly feel like you have ADHD.
Yeah.
Constantly looking around, always something to look at.
Did you come out of that a bit like crazy though? Were the lights
Yes.
that red all the time?
Nah.
Okay.
Nah, they were white
That's
lights.
worth clarifying.
So Dell,
that's so cool.
Dell was really lovely, and they didn't really talk to me about like what I wanted to do, but they were just rather like, we're going to give you this space, just like talk, just do something.
That's great.
And so I, being really passionate about mental health, I liked by this one.
Yeah.
I'm
famous.
So I wanted to make sure that like I was talking about something like that was personal, and that like I felt like I can change the stigma of ADHD.
Yeah.
I think when you talk about ADHD people, they're just like, oh, these guys like bouncy or just like can't stop doing something. Whereas it's not that. It's actually highly stressful and really fucking disorientating.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make people feel that when they came into the room, and I wanted to make people feel like the second you get in there, you are not only overwhelmed, easily distracted, claustrophobic, as we've been talking about tonight earlier, and just encompassing feeling of just like a lot, just a lot. And so I definitely nailed that, but yeah, I'm confident in what I did. I was fucking got paid out the ass for it too.
No,
And,
but like 4 days is not a lot of time.
Honestly, I would have preferred to have about 3.5 weeks for it.
Yeah. Was
Yeah.
that the only window that you had access to?
Yeah. And it actually, to be fair, I did it in 3 days with Sean. they didn't. There was something like just logistic things that pushed me back a day. So the deadline didn't change, but like my workload changed, and I had to meet it. And
Was there
we were working 18-hour days.
Oh my gosh!
Like for 4 days in a row, and the lead up to plan it as well was a lot. Was a lot of work planning it.
How long before the installation did you get the job?
I got the job about 3 months before.
Yeah.
3 or 4, I can't remember. But I was working on it like every day.
Oh wow!
Like even if it was like an hour,
Yeah.
an hour here, an hour there, just developing concepts,
Yeah.
like talking to the clients.
Did you know you wanted to do the ADHD thing from the beginning?
No, I didn't. I think it just happened naturally and organically. The only thing we were asked to do was me and another artist, Andrew Archer. He was like in a different room. But the only thing they told us was just like, we want self-portraits. We want like.
That's such a cool brief.
So I was like, well, I'm not going to do an empty self-portrait. Like I wanted to do something that is obviously personal because it's self-portrait, right?
Yeah.
And so the theme that I was given was manga. They were like, just do something in like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because of your work specifically?
Because I'm Japanese. No.
But like you've got a bit of a cartoon vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fairly illustrative and stuff. So, yeah. So, yeah, I just like Easter egg the fucking shit out of everything.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so like ADHD is never really turned off and all that stuff. So, it's my puppy, Fury.
That's so detailed, dude.
It's a lot of work.
Is this brushwork?
No, that was all digital. It was a lot. It definitely ruined me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. I feel like I'm reliving it. So I'm just like in my head. I'm like, I'm not going to sleep tonight. It's fine.
Little baby Yodas.
Yeah. Little babies.
Yeah, definitely. The more you look, the more you see.
Was Vivid sort of one of those big goals in a way, or one of because it's kind of one of like the premier like public art.
Yeah.
In Australia,
and so many people visiting, like huge numbers.
Yeah, and
yeah.
Was that sort of a cool thing to be a part of?
Yeah, it was massive, to be honest. Like, so I did a project for Vivid in 2017, and that was the catalyst for me leaving my job.
Your day job?
Yeah, I was a designer at a really shitty workplace.
I was like, ooh, where's this going?
I was just trying to.
That's the fifth. I think. Yeah.
PC. Nah, they were all wankers. So I got a job for Vivid, and I think like I lowballed everyone just to get the job, and obviously I had no idea how much people were charging. I didn't even know anyone was charging.
They asked you to quote?
They asked me to quote it. Yeah.
Oof, that's awkward.
So I did like a public mural in like this space, like on hoarding. And I think I charged like $2,000 or something like that. I think when I finished the job, I was like, how much did other people want?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh yeah, you beat everyone by thousands. And I was like, that's not okay for you to tell me that.
Or but not to tell you, to let it happen.
Yeah, to let that happen.
Oh, that's hard.
So I kind of ate that like when I finished, but
that's a bitter cake.
Yeah. So when
2,000's not a lot after like accommodation and paint and like how much would you have walked away with?
I was in Sydney and I already had the paint, so I used to steal my paint. So
yeah,
I'm really sorry everyone. So I used to steal my paint, so it was fine. But I did the job in like a full day, and it was like 30 meters worth of mural.
Wow.
Like 2 meters high, and I just like smashed it in a day. I just like, I don't even know how I did it. I don't even think I ate, but I wanted to do it because I wanted to get more work like that. So it was nice for Vivid because it was the like catalyst for me leaving my job. So it was nice to come back to it. But
that wasn't a well-paid catalyst. That was just an emotional catalyst, was it? It was like, cool, okay, I can do this.
Yeah, definitely, because I knew that I had that one job and I knew that I could get more.
Did it lead to more, or did you use it as a leverage to get more?
I used it as a leverage to get more. Yeah, I definitely didn't get more work from that. But I think because I did it in a graffiti style as well. So like I wrote, here's to having a good time all the time or something like that. Like the Kramer quote from Seinfeld.
Okay.
And then
I'm just picturing you like heavy bags under your eyes. Like
Yeah, they're Gucci.
really loving life.
Yeah, but I used to go to Vivid all the time with my mum and like and as a teenager and stuff as well. So it was nice to go somewhere that I'd been like younger.
Yeah.
And I was younger, and like being invited to have like this this profile, like a high profile involved with it as well, was nice because yeah, I watched my mum from the sidelines, and she was like standing there just like, oh my god, just looking like Danny DeVito, the art critic.
But this time around, because do you have an agent? Like, how did it happen again? Because you said that was 2017. That was quite a while ago.
Yeah. No, I don't have an agent. They just reached out to me. The agency that organised it, the Middle company, they reached out to me. And I've done work with that Middle company before. So I've done work for Dell as well before. So it was just like this.
Choice.
Yeah, it was just like, we got to get this guy back for this. And
it's so much about relationships, isn't it? I don't think young artists know that.
Yeah, it really is.
You just, like, even if it's like the smallest paycheck in the world, just be a kind, nice person and don't be a dick.
That's all I try to be.
And they'll come back. Like, even if that person's left that job and gone on to become like some marketing exec in a high flyer, they will come back to you if you're a good person.
Yeah, I try to be a good person by default anyway, to be honest. Like, I feel like I kick myself in the ass anytime I come across like a fuckwit. Yeah. Like anytime I'm really tired at the moment, I've just like watching myself be really short with people, and I'm like, no. And I've like found myself kind of rationalizing to that person why I've been really short.
Yeah, I do that too.
Even when when we had dinner before, I was like, I felt the need to tell you on the way out. I was like, I get really weird in public spaces. When we're outside, we're sweet, and you can tell now that we're sweet. But like, we were sitting there eating ramen before. I was just like, and just
you honestly weren't. It might have felt like that, but you were fine.
I felt like I was in a blanket, just like ready for bed or something.
Yeah, but I'm experiencing that on the mural job I'm at now, where I'm small talking with people. Yeah, you know, and that's kind of out of my energy levels, I suppose, to be able to do that for days and days on end, because there's that many different employees at this company. Yeah. And I feel this kind of pressure to be like a kind and a good listener and a deep listener, when actually I'm like, man, I'm like really struggling right now. And I kind of say thank you so much for your time, and then I go out and like die at a local wetlands. I'll just find like nature and just go and like be still for a little half hour.
There's a lot of conversation right now about like consent with unloading on people as well.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm like really actively trying to do with people that I'm around.
Like trauma.
So let's just say, for example, like I feel the need to emotionally dump on you. Just like, oh, I've got to unload, I've got to vent. I will most of the time, sometimes I forget, but like I'll do my best to go, hey, like, how's your energy? Do you mind if I vent?
Oh, that's great.
Or like,
that's so interesting.
Maybe it's a little bit into the conversation. Go, oh shit, I've been unloading on you. Yeah. Do you have capacity to take this on? I try and be as mindful as I can, because
I do that too.
When people,
it's hard, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. When people unload on me, like I can take it, and like it's easy to do, but I will walk away from it going, fuck, I'm drained. Yeah. And it's taxing as fuck.
I'm doing the opposite, well, like the preventative opposite now, where if I know I'm low, I'll shoot the text prior and be like, hey, just a heads up. Yeah. I'm feeling really flat right now. So if you do offload onto me, I'm going to be a dick. Like, just save yourself and don't do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what everyone should be. And it should be this new wave of practicing your work, really, and like getting into commercial or whatever. It should just be a thing in general. Like, I messaged my client the other day. I was like, hey, I know I'm supposed to get something to you this afternoon. I'm probably going to get it to you tomorrow morning. I am depressed and I'm anxious, and I'm chowing through a Cadbury marble block right now.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like, do you mind? And he's like, yeah, don't worry, take next week. I'm like, sick. Okay.
That's really interesting, because I've had a client do that to me. They sort of overshared, I would have called it. Like, hey, I can't make our meeting because X, Y, and Z. Yep. As a really personal thing, and I hadn't really met them yet. I didn't know who they were. And I felt like that was someone that I needed to set boundaries with. Yep. Like, I wasn't actually going to trust them to pay my paychecks or manage me in a OH&S sort of like up scissor lift environment, because they were already, before we even began, showing clear signs that they weren't capable.
It's interesting. Yeah. I think the client that I'm talking about in particular, I've had for a while, so it's okay.
You felt comfortable.
Oh yeah, for
Because
sure.
I would certainly say like, hey, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make that deadline. X, Y, Z, whatever.
Yeah.
But to say to what you're describing, which is what I got from this person I had never met.
Yeah. See, I've been on I've been on the receiving end of that, right? So like, I remember I did this job last year. I won't go into detail who or what, but it was a very high profile retail job. And
retail meaning painting in a retail space? What do you mean? Or creating art that becomes... how do you talk about it without...
A retail client.
Retail client.
Okay.
Yeah, retail client. And so I decided to say, like, I'd been working 3 days in general, just like full pelt.
Yeah.
And I've got in my terms and conditions like, hey, look, if there's tradies around, let me know, because I don't do well in crowds.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I don't necessarily like the idea of a fucking circular saw behind my head.
Yeah,
like
fair enough.
I have like part of ADHD. I have like sensory overload as well. Like I have hypersensitive hearing. And so if there's a power tool going on right behind my head, I'm going to hear it 10 times louder than the actual power tool. And so, you know, I just say to everybody, like, give me space. I'm an artist. I'm trying to be creative. You want the best work you can get. I need to have these conditions. And so nobody told me that there was tradies and there was circular saws going on. There was like my ladders being stolen. My paint was being moved.
So heavy.
And I was like, I think at the end of day 3 or 4, I was like, hey, I've done 4 days. Oh, I've done this many days with tradies. I'm going to have the weekend off. I know the deadline's there. I'm still going to meet the deadline.
Yeah, right.
I'm just letting you know that I'm not going to come in over the weekend because I wanted to look after my mental health.
Yeah.
And I got met with, well, maybe you're not good for, you're not good for this type of work.
Wow. Even though you had already told them, like, you know, what you needed to say to protect that
yeah,
space.
I'm an established artist that has an established portfolio and I could definitely take this type of work, but I've never, ever to that point been like gaslit or had enforced imposter syndrome like placed onto me. And I'm like, and everybody does. But like I deal with that myself. But for someone to like throw that on me, I was just
dark.
like,
it's fucking
I was
dark.
just so uncalled for. And
how did you manage the situation?
I just went fucking quiet. I was like, I literally walked into the job like with my hood on, my headphones on, and
It's going invisible.
I had fuck off written all over my face. Like I had come in, battling like really bad depression, and I'd come off my antidepressants like cold turkey. I was like, I was like not doing good, but I needed to make sure the deadline was hit, and I was still on par. I was still on track. And so I'd come in on the Monday and I got met with that, and I was like, that's not really what I wanted to hear. And also I've been vulnerable with you, so maybe take that with a bit of like take it easy with me. But yeah, it was so rude, and it was just like horrible. And I hope to never work with that person again. But just to have that like thrown on me from that side when I'm being vulnerable.
That is such a testament to the culture they're working in, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like that they didn't know how to navigate that situation and certainly didn't have the right answers for it is just a full mirror at what their office space would be like.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But like even just on the note of me just being vulnerable with someone, like
not okay.
You don't have to answer it. Like if I'm telling you I'm having a bad day or if I've had a bad weekend, like I'm telling you because I want you to be nice to me. If you don't have the capacity to be nice to me, don't be nice. Don't say don't
just
say
stay away.
Yeah, but I was just met with like rude behavior and just like forced imposter syndrome and just like, maybe you're not meant for these type of big jobs. And like, and then they went off and told my manager at the time that they should dump me as a client.
Oh man.
And another example of blackballing as well.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're doing any work at the moment because they're probably just a fucking horrible person. Yeah, fingers crossed.
We can only hope.
I nearly actually messaged the retail client too. I nearly messaged them and just gone like, yeah, you should never work with that person, but I didn't.
Yeah, well, I think that's worthwhile.
I probably should have done it.
Because that person doesn't have the capacity to hear feedback, right? Like they're stuck in their bubble.
Yeah.
But anyone outside of their bubble that has the capacity to like avoid that situation happening again and again and again is worth talking to.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's part of my ethos just as a human being just to be like transparent. Like I'm a really bad liar. I've been told that my whole life, so I've just believed it. So I make no effort to lie. I can't be bothered really. Like it seems such an effort. Like seems like such a laborious task to like consistently like hide or like be untrue or whatever. So I'm just like, what you see is what you get. And I know it sounds cliche, but it really is. Like I am like high drive, like sad a lot of the time, but also very, very approachable and very communicative and just transparent with my mental health because I like to think that I'm removing the stigma of a lot of things that I go through.
You are. You obviously are.
I like to think I am. So I think in that regard, when I'm open, like, don't close the door on me. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Did the Del Vivid Mayhem have a artist statement attached to it?
Yeah.
So the people that walked into that space learnt about what they were seeing?
No, I think it was more written. I think it was like a small plaque. I wanted it to be bigger and more obvious, but I had like now in ADHD written everywhere. So I think people caught on.
Yeah.
If they didn't, like, I also like the fact that they also didn't know. You know, I think the fact.
Do you think there's benefit for like message-driven street art to have artist statements or some sort of opportunity to talk to the public?
I think that's not necessarily an easy answer though, because I think art should be interpreted however they feel.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
I really don't think Jackson Pollock had any idea what he was doing.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I think people can decipher it and like post-rationalize and tell a story that they want to be told.
Yeah.
So I think in that regard, maybe I think sometimes it can call for it. It's up to the artist completely. I would love to see a lot of inspirational or emotion or information about the piece or in general. Like,
Yeah, especially vulnerable pieces for sure.
yeah, like I'd love to hear about the one on the road. And like, what was your inspiration behind that?
The mushrooms one around the corner? There is a plaque. It's just too high to read.
I know.
I should tell them. That was the first time I'd seen it. I have to tell them.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Tiny writing.
QR codes at the top.
Yeah, but that was a corporate partnership. So I had a brief, and unfortunately, the brief should have given me free reign because it just needed to have a sort of sustainability theme, and most of my work does.
Yeah.
But no, it just had like a few too many cooks in the kitchen around who wanted what. I'm happy with the end result. Like, it was really nice revisiting it then.
You can tell you're a designer though, just from looking at that with the 90-degree type and like the layout and the negative space.
Like I'm consistently met with the long, skinny canvases, and I love symmetry, and I love like the tall, skinny, and the last probably 6 or 7 murals have been really kind of short and long. Very hard space for me to work in. I don't like doing the extreme zoom ins. Like some artists would work with that space and they'll do like a slice, like a bird's eye and a waratah. And they'll fill that canvas with really close up stuff like that. And
I call that laziness.
Yeah, well,
do you look at?
I just get way too much content in there.
Because you got the designer brain. Do you look back at do you look at other people's work, or do you look at like design?
I thought we weren't going to shit talk.
No, we're not shit talking. We're not shit talking.
Okay,
but do you go like? I love the fact that we promised not to shit talk.
You gotta try.
Do you look at stuff and go like, oh shit, the kerning's off, or like that's a horrible font choice?
Yes.
Or like
100% yes.
Fuck. I just like, I look at I went to this gallery a month or so ago, and I saw it was done by a designer and an art director, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be fun. And then I went there, and the letting was like too far apart and uneven, and I was like,
that's a fun time.
And I was like, why did you do that? And it was everywhere.
Oh no, that's hard.
It was like the show title.
That's very hard for me, and I probably have moved to the countryside specifically for that, because I spent like a long part of my life being like so in tune with typography that
there's only serifs
it's so
out there.
Exhausting. Yeah, it's so exhausting.
Welcome to Sarah, Sheriff.
Nice. However, like most of my design inspiration comes from like really ratty stuff, like patched together, photocopy zines or punk t-shirts or I don't know where this is going, but it's very like, is that the time?
Yeah.
It's very, very lo-fi.
Yeah.
So there's a fine line between just like straight up bad design, but then really good bad design that I absolutely adore. And for a really long time, like I've wanted my typography to be way out of kilter. And I just scan in like super old sign writing books that I'd find in op shops and then just individually place letter by letter, but you know, try not to do it.
Yeah, that's kind of similar to where I have seen. Like, we're not that different after all. I look at like all my inspiration comes from vintage movie posters.
Yeah, sick.
Or like,
that really comes across.
yeah, they've been figured out. Or I actually get a lot of like layout inspiration in general, like for my stuff or for like Honeybone stuff from Japanese typography.
Yeah, sick.
So like, I'm a massive fan of Japanese posters and like layouts and typography. They're so loud.
Yeah, they're so
like,
rich. Yeah.
Like,
so lush.
I don't know what's going on, and I'm just like,
it's beautiful design.
What are you selling? You're selling sponge?
I think that's like, it's almost like visually so much like so appealing because I don't understand what I'm reading. So it really is just visual. Like I'm just looking at layout and like balance. They nail it for sure.
Oh, always, yeah. I remember going through college, like everyone was going, "Oh my god, Helvetica is amazing."
Yeah, that happened
And,
for
like,
me as
I
well.
made a documentary about Helvetica.
Did you?
Yeah.
I was vomiting.
I didn't. They did. Someone
Yeah, I
did,
watched the
like-
documentary.
Yeah. It was
I watched
good.
a documentary in design
Yeah.
school and then made a point to hand draw like absolutely everything. Yeah.
Yep. I have never used Helvetica since watching that movie. I will never use it.
I wonder if I did in that last mural. I think I used Futura in the last one. That Inspire Growth definitely was a fun.
Look like Gotham.
Nice.
I've been sticking with this one typeface for like a year now, and I'm not letting go of it.
Oh, you know what? No, I really need to clarify that. I remember where I got it from, and it was an old typography book, like an old one that just had a few letters called newsprint.
Oh.
And I used the ones that they had, and then I made up the rest. And I distinctly remember, I have photographs on my Instagram.
I get real shitty now. Every time I leave the house, I see like a Stranger Things font everywhere.
Yeah.
Everyone's
there are
using
definitely
it.
trends going on.
Yeah, I fucking hate it. Like, it just, I'm such an asshole at heart. Like, I'm so bitter.
That's hard.
I'm bitter and petty and defeating.
Oh, that's a sad place.
No, I'm like, we are sad. No, I like to like, I love looking at people's design and just like shitting on it and just never telling anybody about it. So it's nice to talk to another designer and just go like,
Yeah.
So we'll get it on the record.
It's-
do you also
It is a
shit on
switch that you cannot turn off.
You can't.
Once you've tuned in.
and anyone around you as well, like Brit, who from I think maybe the last 5 years has only really started noticing what good design is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like she's noticing fonts, she's noticing layouts, kerning, tracking, leading, like all that shit. Kerning and tracking, same thing. I think.
No, I don't think they are.
We got to take all those accolades back now.
Yeah, now I feel like I've just like outed myself as like, oh my god, I'm having an epiphany.
He can edit that out. That's okay.
No, leave it in. We're going raw.
Fuck tracking. I think.
No, tracking is the same as kerning, isn't it?
Do you want me to Google it?
No,
Yeah,
I know they're
maybe.
two different things.
I
I'm
do,
pretty
yeah.
sure kerning is the space between the letters and tracking is the space between the lines.
That's leading.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, maybe they are the same
I think
thing.
kerning and tracking are the same thing, but also now I'm really
Time for
concerned.
you. Well, it's been a while.
Yeah, I left design school like 7 years ago.
But the letters, kerning is between the letters, and tracking is throughout the whole word. That's what it says here.
Oh,
So kerning is just between two letters, like just the space
Oh,
between
okay.
two
Where
letters.
kerning involves the spacing between two letters, tracking involves the spacing throughout the
Oh, okay.
entire
yeah.
word.
Okay.
So effectively,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
the same thing, but
Yeah,
just looked at differently,
yeah,
more broadly, I guess.
yeah.
I could wipe that sweat from my brow. Oh my lord! Here I was thinking like I'm a fake. Nah, we're good.
Well, speaking of sweaty brows, what about your time as a Bunnings face painter?
Fuck, how'd you know about that?
He
We'll,
does his
we'll end
research.
on this note.
Oh my word.
When
So
was
I've
that?
been fired from about 17, 18 jobs in my life.
Wow.
So that was one of them. I got employed in the tool shop. I was working 3 jobs and going to uni and just started dating Brit. So that was 2013. I was working 2 bar jobs and a Bunnings job, and I hated working in the tool department. And so they knew that I hated working in the tool department. So they either put me on trolley duty or they put me on face painting. And so I fucking crushed face painting.
no doubt.
I like, what's up, kid? You want a Spider-Man? I can't do Barbie face paint, but let's do Spider-Man.
What would Barbie face paint? That's
Literally,
just makeup.
that was one of the most requested things I ever got.
Oh.
And I was like, no, I'm not doing Barbie because I don't know what to do.
Who does?
Like, do I do like extra blush or like, or eyeshadow?
I feel like that would look horrific.
Oh, it'd look horrible. It looked like
face painted makeup would be that would be next level.
it would look like the Simpsons episode where Homer fires the makeup shotgun at
Yeah.
Marge.
Yeah.
And so like pretty much everyone just got Spider-Man, to be honest. Like I was so
up
good
there.
at Spider-Man. Someone was like, I want Hulk. I'm like, it's racist to green face, kid. Like, don't do it. And then so yeah, I got fired for calling kid a racist. No. I got fired because I just like hated the job, and like everyone I worked there was just like fucking liberal or old, and I was just like,
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you're a bit too young to work at Bunnings, aren't you?
I was like one of the youngest fucking kids there. I was like, I'm only 31 now, so I think I was working there like 22? Yeah, 22.
Don't look at me.
I don't fucking know. I don't know. I'm an artist because I'm shit at maths. Like,
Or also that you clearly like want to be your own boss.
maybe, yeah. That's probably a good indication. Thank you, therapist. Yeah. I mean, I can't fire myself, can I?
No.
So, I mean,
We just try to like every day. It's like this.
I'm gonna cancel
severing.
myself by the end of
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
By the end of this podcast, 100%. I'm just gonna like drop something.
Well, it'd be interesting to see after 30 days of social media what happens there.
I'm hoping my head gets a bit cleared, to be
hope
honest.
so
Like,
too.
I'm gonna stick to it. Like, I'm gonna stick to 30 days. I actually got message today from Brit. She's like, "Can you do the Honey Bones socials?" I was like, "I'm off socials." So, yeah, I'm off socials completely, except LinkedIn. I like to think of LinkedIn as the new Grinder. It's just a bunch of old white dudes want to get in my DMs and like.
Slipping on in.
I know it's NAIDOC week, but I'm not doing your Aboriginal art for you. Like, come on, like leave me alone.
And that's another brand we're
Yeah.
wiping off the list. Yeah.
That's sick.
Who was the brand again? I just feel like I
I
should.
don't know.
LinkedIn.
A bit of
Oh, yeah.
LinkedIn, NAIDOC. There's a few in there.
I'm doing an ADOC job, but I'm like, it's a good job. It's fine, but like it's definitely not LinkedIn. Yeah. So hopefully it clears my head. Like it feels good already. Like I feel even when I was doing the mural today, I felt like I was paying full attention.
Yeah, more
and
focused.
way more focused. I put my phone over the other side of the room, and I just jammed out to like Nate Dogg Radio on Spotify, and yeah, I just like cracked. I'm way ahead of schedule, hence why I'm like
Interesting.
jamming out in this podcast. Like, yeah,
Unreal.
I messaged Brit before, like, who's doing my scheduling, and I was like, I'm going for a ramen with Bowie, and she's like, okay, be back soon. I was like, no. And she's like, all
I
right,
got
cool.
time.
I'm ahead of schedule.
Well, I'm very glad you could fit this in your schedule, and
Me too.
it's been a pleasure watching the therapy session.
Felt like it, hey.
Filming it. So no, not at all. No,
Oh.
it was good. It was really interesting listening. So thank you so much. And
Static electricity in the building.
yeah, we'll get those beard hairs
You
up on eBay soon.
Yeah.
For everyone. Yeah.
I'll sign them for you.
And the painty pants.
Oh my god. Just like a paintbrush made from JESWRI.
yeah. Awesome. No, thank you so much, and thank you for listening, everyone, and watching. Thank you. Anything else we need to add?
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.